There you go,
What's up,
man.
brother?
Welcome to
What's
the
going
show.
on? What's going on? Yeah,
All right,
life is
welcome to
good,
the
man.
show.
I had an unfortunate incident, but hey,
Hmm.
things happen. Life goes on. Still happy. Still gonna run around the
Amen.
world. It is
Hmm.
not going to stop. My experiences, with travel, man. It just can't. It never will. So
Okay, so we're gonna get into that, man. But first, let me ask you, like, how did you originally get into travel? Have you traveled to any other countries outside of Colombia before?
I'm 45 countries in, man. I lived abroad for like
Oh
almost 8
wow.
years. Yeah,
There we go.
I've been doing this for a long time. I first left the States in 2004
Oh
and was in
wow. Okay.
Thailand for this is like way before social media, all that, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, spent a lot of time in Thailand, lived in Germany for a few years, lived in Sweden, lived in Australia, lived in is it Germany, Sweden, Thailand, Australia. Yeah, all four of those countries. Had to make sure I had them all listed. Yeah, while living in Europe, I was just hitting a bunch of different places. I was living in Berlin, and it's really, really easy to just catch flights and for a really, really inexpensive cost. So if I want to go to Prague, or if I want to go to Belgrade, Serbia, if I want to hit, Rijeka, Croatia, or someplace in the Ukraine, before, it was having its issue. So yeah, that's my thing.
Okay, nice. Okay, perfect, perfect. So give us a rundown, a step by step of exactly what happened in the situation that you had in Medellin, Colombia.
Got it. So, like a lot of brothers, right? Before you even get to some other country, you're using date apps. So, I wasn't aware of the dangers of using Tinder in
Mm.
Colombia, right? Especially and specifically, Medellin, because I've used it in many other countries, never had any issues. So, pipeline and just catching up with women, hey, having those conversations. Get there on a Friday, right? Late Friday night, slept, went out Saturday, shot some videos. And that night, I ended up connecting, with one of the chicks who I had, met on Tinder. Then I asked her, I'm like, hey, what's up? What's going on? You coming out? Yeah. Bring a friend. She's like, all right, cool. We hang out for a little bit. Then we make our way, back to my Airbnb. Now, I speak very good Spanish. And like
Hmm.
the day, like the when I had like checked into my Airbnb, so I'm talking to security. They're surprised that I do speak such good Spanish and that I'm not, Hispanic, Latino like that. So just having, I was able to build a rapport with them like very, very well. Now that night, so we come back to the place. Didn't have any alcohol or anything like that at the house, so we used the app Rappi and get some beers delivered. Now this is where I messed up. This is my
Hmm.
ownership. I opened my beer, right, or opened the beers, hand them drinks. I set mine down and went to the restroom. That
Mm.
is that's a mistake. That's a massive, massive mistake, and I own that. So, I go to the restroom, come back, and I take a sip of my beer, and it was my first time having this beer, so I didn't know the flavor of it. It's not like you're in the States and you have a Heineken or a Bud Light or whatever your drink is. You know what it's typically going to taste like. This one tasted weird. I'm like, oh, okay, it's kind of sweet, but
Hmm.
okay. Well, I had a couple more sips, and I remember being probably about another 10 to 15 minutes after that, I was conscious. Then I just remember waking up the next morning like, what the hell just happened? And I'm naked. I'm like, hold on, I was dressed, right? I hadn't took off any of my clothes. I'm like, what the hell just happened? I
Hmm.
reached for my credit card and my phone. My wallet is empty. All my credit cards are gone. I reached my phone. My phone was like up on the countertop, like near the kitchen. And I get dressed real quick. I stand up and I'm like, I almost fall. I'm like, oh, like, whoa, 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 what's going? Something like I know I got drugged. I got robbed. All right, I messed up.
Damn.
I
Damn.
I exit, my room, and my room, the Airbnb was on the first floor. And when I open the door, I can see like kind of like the leasing office, and I can see, like security, or actually one of the security guys was already there, and he asked me, hey, how are you feeling? Do you remember what happened? And I'm like, I'm gone at this point. Mentally, I cannot. I'm just not really there, but I'm still trying to communicate with them in Spanish to like to understand what happened. And they
Hmm.
told me, the two ladies you brought to your room, right? They tried to rob you, and the
Mm.
police came and all that good stuff. I'm like, okay, so they showed me actually there's a photo of me on the bed, right? Completely unconscious. I can see the police on one side. I can see the women sitting on this other couch on the other side. And I can see me like really on the bed. They had I was naked. They had my lower half covered up. And I'm just like, and it's like having this out of body experience to see that. Like, God, I mean, when you see yourself in that type of a vulnerable state, and I mean, it's scary. It's extremely scary. You don't expect it to happen to you.
Mhm.
And like I said, when I came, but when I woke up, right, talked to the police. I talked to the police because they came back. Um, they say, hey, we basically they let them go. Honestly, is what it came. They let them go. I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
well, but all of my things were there, so I was looking. They had tried to take, my sunglasses, some of my high end fragrances. They tried to take credit cards. All that stuff
Mhm.
was there,
Mhm.
and there's two things that was missing, right? I had like the equivalent to 170 bucks. I can't remember how much it was in Colombian pesos.
Mhm.
And one of my laptops was gone. So I always have my work laptop and I have my personal laptop. My work laptop, the smaller one, was gone. And I'm like, okay, okay. That's a small price to pay to actually have my health, to have my life. Because I know there's a lot of gentlemen who have, maybe they've been drugged and they actually had a worse, far worse experience. They didn't come home to tell about it. And
Mhm.
that's not cool. It's scary as hell. It's what it is. And
Mhm.
I learned a valuable lesson, right? First off, if yeah, you can have drinks with people, all right, great, but
Mhm.
you need to watch your tail. Security, when they told me, like when we first came in, hey, you can have your guests, but we need copies of their information. And when they leave, you have to walk them out so we know you're okay. Is what I remember. Is that what they told
Great
me?
security.
Yes, you have to walk them out. Being that I didn't walk them out, and they try to tell security, oh, he's asleep. That's red flags. The bells and whistles are going off. That's when they came in and checked on me, and it was like told them, hey, y'all got to stay here. Y'all got to wait. Y'all can't leave. And then the police arrive and all that ensues. So
Mhm.
it was definitely a learning experience. It took me 4 days to recover. So I said, it happened
Damn.
like, yes, late Saturday night, like Sunday morning. So I woke up on
Mhm.
that Sunday, probably around 11. Uh, I couldn't eat or drink anything. So I remember having like, a sip of water and a bite of a banana. I threw that up in 30 seconds. I like a little bit later, I tried to have like some Pringles or something and another sip of water. I threw that
Mhm.
up. My
Mhm.
body, my motor skills, everything was just out of whack. So
Now,
I
now, now,
just,
now, now, now- now let me ask you this real quick. Did they tell you exactly what you were drugged with?
oh, they left the pills in my room. It was called clozapine. It's what they give high level
Mm.
schizophrenics, or what
Mhm.
it's like the strongest medicine that they give, schizophrenics. It's the type of
Mhm.
medicine where, if that doctor prescribes that right to that patient, they really got to monitor them, and it has some side effects if it's your first time. That person's first time ever taking it. You can faint, you can lose consciousness. It's a bunch of different things, but it can also affect different people differently. And
Mm.
it did knock me out. I mean, I found the pills in the room, and I'm like, I don't take any prescribed medication. That's when I googled it, but then I also went to a doctor I went to see a doctor in Colombia on
Mhm.
like that Tuesday, and he told me a little bit about this drug, and because I showed it to him, he was like, "They gave you this," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is what I found there." I
Mhm.
don't, I'm not, I don't have any mental health issues like that. And yeah, that's what they gave me. Like I said, it took me till like Wednesday night to really get back to me. Then on Thursday, I was, pretty much 100%. But
Mhm.
that was what, 4 days of lost work for me, along with not
Mhm.
even being able to work from my personal machine. Company wasn't allowing that. It was just a really, really terrible experience. But I've been through it. One lives and one learns. Understand what happened, why it happened, look for solutions. I don't just dwell on the problem, right? I don't.
Mhm.
That's not going to, fix anything. It's not going to make anything better. I'm solution oriented. That's what I do. I deliver solutions, And I, like I said,
Good
I know
point.
what happened, and I just got to move forward and make sure other men are aware that it's not all fun and games. I actually chose El Pagalleras because I know there's this other YouTuber, Rami Travels, and I'm like, I see how Lleras Park was always lit, but I didn't know it was the track, it was the holster, it was the blade, like
Mm-hmm.
that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I see it's lit, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be this is where I should be. Even though one of my buddies told me, hey, if you're gonna go to Colombia, stay in El Poblado, stay away from Tinder. Didn't hear that at first. So you live and you learn. You out there, and you're not aware, you might get caught up. You might get caught up, and you might be street smart, but the streets is different in other places, and you don't know that.
Pursue making charges with the police against those girls?
Honestly, I
You
don't
got
have
I'm
time.
sure you got the information, right?
I could get their information right from the Airbnb. I'm pretty sure they still
Mm-hmm.
have it, but I just didn't have. Honestly, I didn't have time. Where I was or where I'm at, I'm like, okay, well, look here, T. You got caught up. You got caught slipping, and okay. Tell you this: the chicks hit me up on WhatsApp a couple days later, and I asked them, hey, why'd you drug me? She was like, well, I've never really done that before, which I don't believe, but she goes, oh no, I saw you as an opportunity. I'm like, oh, okay.
Damn.
I got caught slipping. Right. I got caught. And that's the truth. And I like transparency. Tell me what it is. Don't BS me. I'm a man, I can handle it. And that's what it was. And I own it. Right. I slipped up. Won't be no slipping again. And as for pursuing charges, I could be, I don't know how long that would take. I'd probably have to be back in Colombia to really make that happen. But I am going to go back again, like I said, next month. Yeah, I'm not even worried about it at this point. I'm gonna just take it on the chin, take it in stride, and got knocked down. I'm not out. I'm still running around the world and going to be able to just continue enjoying my life. Inform my son on what's going on. Told him about it, like, hey, let's have this conversation, because he was scared shitless. He was terrified. Like I didn't tell him what happened while I was there. I talked to him when I got back.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad you made it out okay. Did the doctor prescribe anything to try to flush the drug out your system? Did he give you some IV or some water or anything like that, or it just happened to pass through with time?
Yeah, actually, he told me that. He says if that drug would usually, especially if it's your first time, it'll pass out of your system within 24 to 48 hours. So he's like, stay hydrated, drink lots of water, get a lot of rest, and he's, you'll be fine. He says, don't have any alcohol. I'm like, cool, that's definitely not in the plans right now. So yeah, just rested, had, just stayed hydrated.
Okay.
So people not knowing about Tinder down here, especially in Medellin, man, you playing with real fire, but you weren't aware of that. Medellin, you stay clear away from Tinder. Like, some guys have some success, but some of these girls, like the girl told you, she saw you as an opportunity. They see all the guys as an opportunity. They deal like the women in Parque Aires area pretty much deal with nothing but foreigners from all over the globe. They know what's normal, they know what's not. And the minute they see that opportunity, they take it. And they are ruthless.
Oh yeah. Do you still have your passport? Was everything all right with your passport?
Yeah, I got everything back. Like I said, the only thing I ended up losing was like $170 and my the work laptop. So my passport, everything else was good to go. They went through all my stuff, because anytime I travel, right, I have that auxiliary credit card, right, just in case things get stolen, right, I lose my wallet this time. I still got that one car with a whole bunch of money on it, and I can get out of Dodge. They found that card, and then actually just yesterday, I didn't try to use it, but I just called, one of my credit card companies for that card, and it was like, oh, that card had some fraud on it. I haven't used this card at all, and I'm like, well, what was the date on it? Oh, it was July 17th. That was the day that was the day of the incident. And I'm like, okay, and now I understand why that card, was blocked. They were sending me another one. But yeah, they found that card, and these were some professionals. They know what they was doing. Got everything back though. No issues. I feel great. Looking forward to going back next month, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Just not messing with the dating apps out there like that. I don't know if there's actually I'm gonna do that video. Even if there is one, I'm gonna make one, right? The dangers of using Tinder, in Medellin, because if you travel a lot, you probably won't be thinking like, oh, it's gonna be, if I use Tinder there, it's gonna be just like every other place. No, it's not. Right? It's not. Whether you're in Asia, it's safe. Europe is safe. There, locals, folks know, they're like, nah, you don't want to do that. That's the setup, man. And all that pretty chick, that's the trap. She at you like that, yeah, that's the booby trap. It's gonna spring back and snap and catch you, or it could.
It's kind of funny how also when guys, I got a couple more questions for you. It's kind of funny how guys, when they use the dating apps to pregame, when they get down here, if you just a good dude and just a little patient your first day, you'll come up on so many good regular chicks that want to smash you anyway. But I think one of the things that I noticed that we do is we're impatient. I remember me and Aaron talked about this before. We had pregame with all these chicks, and by the time we got down here, we met so many regular chicks that we flaked on the dates with the chicks that we already had set up. You've been talking to them for 2-3 weeks or 2 or 3 months on social media. Right. And you swear when you get down to Colombia, those are the ones you're gonna holler at. As soon as you get here, if you're patient day one, you meet so many other females that, man, I kid you not, I flaked on so many dates of women that I had stuff set up with. So the advice that I do give guys on day one, and I promise you, this is probably the greatest gift you'll give to yourself, is be patient with yourself on day one, day two. I know you might, I'm gonna be here 5 days. Okay, be patient with yourself. Give yourself time to kind of depress from that. Oh my God, look at this beauty. Come down from that, and then day two, go out there, and it's amazing how you feel more comfortable with just, especially being fluent in Spanish. And I was meeting them, and I'm smashing them. And this was when my first trip was to Medellin. I was only there for 5 days, and I was having a great time. But that first day, women were approaching me, blah blah blah. This Parque year is back in 2017, and I kid you not, my Airbnb was in the heart of Parque years, right in it. So I'm hearing all the music blasting and everything, and women coming from left to right. And I was like, first day, I was like, no, thank you. That's all right. No, I don't feel like dancing. And I just let that compress or depress, and then I went on ahead the next day, met a few females, had a great time, and they just keep on. Those next 4 days just were great. The other thing I want to mention is, did you as an avid traveler, do you already have your emergency contacts already set up?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have emergency contacts set up just in case you're unconscious?
Just in case.
And I'll tell you what I mean. In this incident, it showed you and us that there could be incidences where you are unconscious, and we need somebody to say, hey, I haven't talked to him in 2 days. Let me reach out. Yep. I haven't talked to him in 3 days. Let me reach out.
And that's what we do, right, Dre? When we in Medellin, that's what we do. Like if we don't hear from somebody, I'll be like, man, you heard from Jay? You heard from him? He's like, no, I ain't heard from him for a day or two. Oh, we gotta make them calls.
Yeah, we'll find out what's going on.
Yeah.
That
make sure
okay.
You guys,
I have emergency contacts set up, but not if you ain't heard from me in 2 days, usually it's I think that's an informational piece. Whereas, hey, Uncle Stu, you ain't heard from me right in a couple days. Go ahead and sound the alarm, right? Or if it's my brother or one of my cousins. And I'm usually real good about, getting on the phone and just hitting folks up, right? Whether it's going to be on Instagram, but, they see where I'm at or something like that. Like, okay, cool. Even if I hadn't heard from them in a minute. Right. So, yeah. But making sure folks are even more aware. Like, hey, you know what? Be looking out for me. If you don't hear from me, every 18 hours, sound the alarm. This is where this is his address, a last known address. Right. This is the Airbnb. Here's all of that information. Right. Where he's at. Now that I think about it, I hadn't gone that far, but I will moving forward.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, Andre, because a friend of mine out here, in Thailand, he didn't pick up his phone for like 2 days, and then he eventually called me back. And I was like, bro, if we was in Medellin, we would put out an APB on you. We would have been knocking on your door. We would have called the police to do like a welfare check or something like that. Like that's how it is out there. You know, in Colombia, you definitely got to move a certain way. It's kind of best to kind of move with a certain crowd that you trust, basically, in Colombia.
Right. Right.
But what's funny was not a funny situation, but the fact that you want to go back is what do we always say, Dre? It's the only city in the world where you can get drugged and robbed.
And still want to come back.
Still want to go back,
man. I gotta say, right?
The t-shirt. I got the Cali on.
I ain't wearing my Colombian jersey today.
For me, right? You know, so taking what you said, Dre, right, and applying it, which is, you know, like first day, you know, just, you know, decompress, right? Because I had a whole bunch of chicks that I was hollering at on Tinder. That first day, actually, I was just, you know, walking around. Yeah, that's part during the day, but just shooting, you know, just shooting video. And like that evening, I'm like, all right, you know, I'm gonna go out, and it ended up, you know, connecting with, you know, the perpetrator and her friends, or perpetrators. That's when it happened. And like when I could have just, you know, chilled, but then again, you know, you're like, oh well, I'm gonna go ahead and take this down. And it's actually the reverse. They're gonna take you down. So lost out there, took a few days to recover. But like I said, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I needed to do something different. I needed to just get out there and just experience, you know, some more culture. So, you know, I just took a little quick tour from Medellin to Guatapé, you know, La Piedra de Peñol, saw all that, did that, which was real cool. It was just something to get out. And I've always enjoyed Latin culture, right? I grew up around a whole bunch of Latinos. And like I said, for me, I'm at home. I felt really, really good in Medellin. But I'm still going to go check out other areas like, you know, Cartagena, Barranquilla, La Guajira. I met this chick from La Guajira on the tour. Oh, my God. Yeah. So her and I, you know, we still converse, and we just went out, just hung out like that the last night I was there. And when I return next month, you know, I'm gonna definitely, you know, connect with her. But I felt great there. But one must move differently. You know, you.
I keep it factual. I'm on sabbatical. I'm out in Central America. I need a break from hysteria. Park like the one with the carousel. I get it lit in your area. I'm locked to the vision, it couldn't be clear. You couldn't pay me to care enough. I dare you to hate me supreme with the sound through the stereo. So turn it up loud when you hearing us. We live and it's good in your area. My mama proud, she tearing up and it's going down. Got your girl aroused by these massive stacks like 100 pounds. Running big laps till the sun is down like 100 miles.